Uruttampatti, a tiny village on the map, often overlooked by the world. Nestled in the heart of the countryside, it was a place where time seemed to stand still. Life here moved at its own slow pace. Sunny fields stretched as far as the eye could see, with farmers tending to their crops and tractors moving lazily across the land. Roads covered in dust and the never-ending sound of chickens clucking filled the air, creating a symphony of rural life. It seemed like an ordinary village, but it held an extraordinary secret, a secret that was whispered among the villagers, yet never spoken aloud. This secret belonged to its richest hen farmer, Koji Babu, a man who had amassed a fortune from his poultry business. Koji Babu, the man who built his wealth on eggs, was a vegan. An irony that puzzled many, but none dared to question. Strange? Maybe. But everyone in Uruttampatti knew not to question Koji Babu. His presence commanded a mix of respect and fear. The villagers whispered about his unusual ways. They gossiped about his past, sharing stories that grew more elaborate with each retelling. But they never dared to let him hear their whispers. Fear of retribution kept their voices low and their conversations hidden. Koji Babu, with his sharp eyes and serious face, demanded respect and fear. His gaze could pierce through the bravest of hearts. He didn't talk much, but his words often sounded like threats. Each sentence he spoke carried weight and a hint of menace. He was a puzzle, this vegan hen farmer, and Uruttampatti tiptoed around him. The village lived in a delicate balance, always aware of the enigma that was Koji Babu. Koji Babu wasn't always like this. He wasn't always the quiet, introspective boy you see now. He was once a carefree boy, full of life and laughter. His days were filled with the simple joys of childhood, running through the fields, his laughter echoing through the village. A boy who wandered the fields with his best friend, a little chick he named Partha. They explored every nook and cranny of the village together, inseparable from dawn till dusk. Partha wasn't just any chick, it was special. Not because of its size or strength, but because of the bond it shared with Koji Babu. It was a scrawny little thing, the smallest of the bunch, left behind to die. But in its tiny frame, it held a spirit that refused to give up. But young Koji Babu, with his kind heart, felt sorry for the tiny creature. He saw something in Partha that others didn't, a will to live, a spark of life. He secretly fed it scraps of food, kept it warm in his shirt pocket and whispered secrets to it under the night sky. In those quiet moments, a deep bond was forged.
Partha, you'll always be safe with me. I promise to protect you no matter what.
Partha grew strong under his care. The once scrawny chick began to thrive, its feathers growing fuller, its chirps louder. It followed him everywhere, its tiny chirps a constant melody in Koji Babu's life. They were a team, facing the world together. They were inseparable, these two, connected by a love that went beyond their differences. In a world that often focused on what set people apart, their friendship was a testament to the power of kindness and compassion. The boy and the chick. Two unlikely friends who found each other in the most unexpected of places. An unusual friendship in a world that often focused on differences. Their story reminds us that love and friendship can blossom in the most unlikely of circumstances, bridging gaps and bringing hearts together. One day Koji Babu's world fell apart. He came home to the smell of his favorite dish, chicken curry. His mother served him a big plateful. He ate happily, unaware of the terrible truth. After his meal, his mother, her face full of guilt, told him what had happened.
Babu, the chicken curry. It was Partha.
The world seemed to spin. His stomach twisted. Betrayal, sharp and sudden, stabbed his young heart. He'd unknowingly eaten his best friend, his confidant, the one creature he loved most in the world. That day, something inside Koji Babu broke. The light in his eyes disappeared, replaced by a quiet rage. He vowed never to eat meat again, a promise born out of grief and a need to make things right. Years passed. Koji Babu grew up, his pain turning him into the hardened man he was now. He built his hen farm, a monument to his guilt, a constant reminder of his past. He took care of his hens, yes, but from a distance. He couldn't bring himself to get close to them, to risk feeling such heartbreak again. Then chikungunya struck. a deadly disease that ripped through poultry farms like wildfire. Panic seized Uruttampatti. Chickens died by the hundreds, their bodies piling up, a horrible reminder of the disease's cruelty. Fear, as contagious as the disease itself, spread through the village. Whispers turned into accusations. Fingers pointed towards Koji Babu's farm, the biggest in the area.
Koji Babu, you've brought this curse upon us. How could you? We trusted you, and now look at what has happened to our village. Our children are sick, our crops are failing, and it's all because of you.
You've doomed us all. This disease is your fault. We believed in you and you betrayed us. How could you let this happen? Our lives are ruined because of your actions.
The villagers, driven by fear and suspicion, turned on Koji Babu. They blamed him for bringing the disease to Uruttampatti, for being cursed, for being the cause of their misfortune.
Please stop, you don't understand. This isn't my fault. I tried to help, I really did. But the disease, it was beyond my control. Please listen to me.
Koji Babu watched in horror as they destroyed his life's work, his eyes reflecting the flames engulfing his coops. The fire consumed everything he had built, reducing it to ashes.
We don't want to hear your lies anymore, Koji Babu. You've done enough damage. Leave our village and never come back.
They no longer saw him as Koji Babu, the man who had helped them prosper, but as a villain, a monster responsible for their misery. The fire raged through the night, burning everything Koji Babu cared about. The smell of burning feathers and wood filled the air, a suffocating reminder of his loss. As the sun rose, painting the sky with shades of orange and red, Koji Babu stood amidst the ashes of his life.
I looked at the villagers, their faces a mix of guilt and defiance, and knew I couldn't stay. I was an outcast, unwanted in the very village I had called home.
With a heavy heart and a spirit filled with bitterness, Koji Babu turned his back on Uruttampatti and walked away. I wandered for days, my grief and anger my only companions. The betrayal of my childhood, the recent destruction of my farm, it all festered within me, poisoning my soul. I had lost everything, my friend, my livelihood, my home. And I knew who to blame, the villagers of Uruttampatti. A plan began to form in his mind, a plan for revenge, a way to make them pay for what they had done.
I would return to Uruttampatti, but not as the Koji Babu they once knew. I would be their worst nightmare, a force of nature they wouldn't soon forget.
The details of Koji Babu's revenge are too terrible to tell. All that needs to be said is that Uruttampatti learned a harsh lesson that year, a lesson about the destructive nature of fear, the terrible consequences of false accusations, and the awful price of revenge. The once thriving village now lay in ruins, a chilling reminder of the night the vegan hen farmer took his revenge. The villagers, those who survived, scattered, carrying with them the heavy burden of their actions and the terrifying memory of Koji Babu's vengeance. The story of Koji Babu is a tragedy, a story of misunderstanding, fear, and the never-ending cycle of revenge. It serves as a warning, a stark reminder of how easily trust can be broken and the terrible consequences of giving in to our worst instincts. In the end, everyone lost. Koji Babu, consumed by his need for revenge, destroyed any chance of finding peace. And Uruttampatti, blinded by fear and suspicion, paid a heavy price for their actions. The story of the vegan villain of Uruttampatti is a story that stays with you long after the story is over, leaving you to think about the true cost of revenge and the lasting power of human cruelty.